Hello again from me. What I want to talk about today are illusions and the false self, the personal lie that we tell ourselves. Then we begin to live according to this lie and to slowly turn it into truth. But quite often it turns out that we mislead ourselves, create more difficulties, and just hurt ourselves. We actually don't realize that this is a result exactly of those inner lies and unhealthy laws that we have accepted to obey and believe in. We were all born authentic. Kids are authentic. We were all born with this potential of a healthy attitude towards ourselves. Authenticity means to allow ourselves to be in the here and now, to enjoy the moment, to express our emotions regardless of whether they are positive or negative, to be able to love, to enjoy the little things, and to want to achieve our dreams and desires either now or in the very near future. Children possess this healthy and authentic potential. Children are raw and pure. Their heart is open. They want to love in every way possible, to experience and to feel everything. However, this changes over time. As we grow up, our mind also matures and our ability to understand concepts and content also changes. The beginning of another story is set, a story different from our authentic one. It's a story about who should I be and what should I become. From the moment when the mind already begins to mature and we start to speak and understand more things, we immediately face boundaries and rules. We start to doubt our authenticity and our right to be natural. We doubt the person we were before we started speaking and interacting. We begin to hear about what's right and wrong, what's allowed or forbidden, good, bad, wrong, right. Children are especially extremely sensitive to that. We've all gone through this period in childhood. Some things still apply to us. The inner child in each of us who we may have forgotten about or who quite often stands somewhere in the corner. When we forget about that child, we start hearing the voice of the critical adult with his or her patterns and dynamics, the demanding adult, the controlling one, the judgmental one. We've been taught all these things sometime long ago by an important person in our lives. Our inner voice is actually the voice or behavior of our parents, those who welcomed and brought us into the world. To us, they were important, safe, providing food, and all we wanted was to be like them and acquire everything we could from their persona. They were the ones who created us, who gave us the most important basic support, and they taught us how to love each other. Actually, they showed us how they loved each other, how they loved themselves, and how they expressed love and affection, the words they told each other. Now as adults, we've forgotten how much we learned from them. We deny it and we avoid to see that to a large extent we are exactly like them. We repeat their words, beliefs, and patterns that they carried in their heart and believed in. Their behavior and the messages they sent to us were beneficial. That's how our core was formed. Of course, a lot of those messages were resourceful. For example, when we heard, "Well done, good job, you're wonderful, very nice." Those motivating messages are very important for children. Everyone wants to be praised, to feel special and appreciated. But we should be careful with words like bravo or good job. To say, "Well done, you're great," is better than bravo. Even if those words bring comfort and a resource, there is something I want you to pay attention to. The thing is that when we say good job, we don't specify a particular performance by which we are impressed. For example, if a child painted a picture, instead of saying good job, we can say, "That's a very nice picture that you've painted. This house looks interesting. It's different from the ones we can see outside. Perhaps you will become a wonderful and innovative architect who will create the houses of the future, and this experience as an artist can help you in the future in creating other important things. This is where we specify a quality, and that applies to adults as well. I was just trying to show you how our authenticity can get rejected in childhood. That's how we begin to believe the most damaging thought, that we're not perfect. This is the story that we bring from the past, but we still have those beliefs and thoughts in our present life as adults, and we project them in our communication with people important to us. A lot of the rules, lessons, analysis, and messages for children also apply to us because we are just grown-up children. It is much healthier, more resourceful, and fulfilling when we specify certain qualities, because that way the child or adult understands that we recognize them more personally. We see their authenticity in what they did well. For example, they may have invented something or solved a math problem quickly. We shouldn't just say to them, "Good job," or "Awesome," "Great." Here the specifics are very important. We should say, "You solved the problem very quickly. You clearly cope well with numbers. You're very logical. This is great because math can be found everywhere in life and it helps us a lot. I'm glad you've mastered it well." Through specifying, the identity of the other person becomes more visible to us. We are showing that we can notice and voice it. To show that we value a specific quality the other person possesses, such words will be very useful. This applies to communication with adults as well. In addition to encouragement, however, during childhood, we also receive messages of punishment, threats, guilt, denial. We often see a parent being offended. He may react with anger, or may give us the silent treatment for a long period of time. Or she may close herself off in response to our insult or any frustration we've caused her. He may also stop saying words of love, or stop the warmth in our communication. We as parents often forget to go back and admit our mistakes if we have overreacted or raised our voice a bit too much, because we want to appear strong in front of children. We show our strength and supremacy through words, shouting, threats, punishments, or taking something away from them. But notice that we do that to other adults as well, threatening each other. "I will kick you out. I'll leave you with nothing. You'll give me everything back. I'm not giving you the child. Who do you think you are? You have everything thanks to me." This is very familiar dialogue, which is popular at all ages. Those childhood memories leave their footprint in adults, and that's how traumas, swallowed insult, and broken trust appear. And so with time, the child comes to the conclusion that authenticity is not useful and brings pain. Instead of being helpful, it's painful. That's why the topic of authenticity and how to bring it back is so popular nowadays. We can pretend we have a time machine, and we can travel back in time and work out all our unresolved issues. Or instead, we can work towards personal development through certain psychological exercises, therapy, psychological visions, understanding our subconscious dynamics, etc. This all aims precisely towards a rebirth. It's about going back to that moment when we forbade ourselves to be authentic. That moment when we began to believe that authenticity is frightening and painful, and that in order to be accepted by family or society, we have to be someone else. We become a slave to human illusions, lies, and masks. It's ubiquitous. We all go down the same path, and that's why we all have the same results and face the same consequences. That's why we hurt each other and suffer accordingly. I'm saying that with a smile because, after all, it has already happened. The past is a fact, but we can still rewrite our story. We can create a new one today. When we already have this knowledge, there's no other option but to face the truth. Getting to know these harmful and limiting beliefs and patterns, and raising our awareness, we have nowhere else to go but to see the truth. From that point on, the truth will move us. When we don't want to see the truth, we live in illusions and eternal grievance. The truth is always there, but when we avoid seeing it, it starts showing itself through symptoms. It reaches us either through physical symptoms, or through an emotional symptom, or through a behavioral symptom, or through a crisis. It wants to be seen. It needs to come out, to be seen, and to be changed. At some point, when we grow up, we begin to understand what's behind the messages. Do this, but don't do that. This is good, that's bad. Today I like you. Tomorrow, you're bad and I don't like you. And so on and so forth. All these phrases, however, hide a silent message, and that is, it's not good to be myself. I'm not good enough. This is our basic root. This is where our authenticity was declined. In our desire to be the perfect parents, we are in a constant fight with ourselves and our children. There are boundaries and rules that are important and we need to set, but we often don't realize how we slip into being a little too critical and frustrated. We use our power as adults, and this is not a strength, but rather a weakness, showing that we cannot accept the child's authenticity, and we cannot cope with hearing the word no. We cannot accept the child saying, "You impose this on me, but you're the same as me, and you also do this." Then appears the abuser's weakness, and we find ourselves wanting to slap the child, to punish him, or to basically show her that she must be silent. We don't realize how often we use these tools in the upbringing and relationship with our children. Our children are a mirror to us. Quite often, they talk through this hidden story. They cannot hide this bitter element they got in their upbringing, and at some point they show that weakness to us. But whether we are able to look, whether we want to spend time to realize our role as parents, is up to us. Here I want to leave an open space so that each of you can look and realize this for him or herself. There is no need to hide your head in the sand. There comes a time when we have to tell ourselves the truth. We have to be frank and recognize how often we are allowing children to express their authenticity. Are we really listening to them? And are we accepting their rightness and hearing what they want to tell us? We should also notice if they are doing something because they want to or because they want to please us, to meet our expectations, to respond to our needs, to fulfill our own unfulfilled dreams or failures in order to clean up something that we haven't taken care of ourselves. Think about whether or not you are passing your anxiety and frustration onto them. Is the child filling you up because you're unhappy with your partner? Is the child compensating for his parent's failure in his career? And is that why the parent is always making her do more and more? Always more because he himself as the parent is not what he wanted, or cannot admit that he's not capable of becoming that. How then could a child keep his authenticity? How could children preserve this potential? I often receive queries such as, how can I make my child feel confident? How can I make my child successful? How to help her reveal her potential? How to get him into the best school? How to make her a leader? But at the same time, I want her to do exactly what I tell her, because otherwise there's conflict. Our desires are a huge contradiction to what we say and do. We all have insecurities, and that's because we want to hide a lot of things, such as pain and vulnerability. It's a part, again, of this fake story that we've created. We often begin to believe in something that may not always be the truth, but rather a thought or a message that someone has left in us. Unfortunately, at one point, we all tend to lean into these unhealthy dynamics in parent-child relationships, which leave an imprint saying, "It is not good to be myself." We are born with the truth, but gradually we begin to believe in lies. You're not good enough. You have no right to get distracted. If you don't do what I tell you, I'll punish you. Don't you understand that's exactly what you're supposed to do? You should go to this school. Otherwise, I'll punish you. I'll take everything from you. Because of our weakness, nervousness, narcissistic criticality, etc., we've become very offensive and rude parents. Although we often say yes, we also have become quite critical. This is a contradiction that we carry. But if you look closely, you will find that you also have such patterns in your family. The story of the personal lie. We start to think of ourselves and the world the way we think the world thinks of us. We all suffer from this fake story that we build within ourselves and begin to see the world the way we think the world sees us. I emphasize the word think. Thinking could be an illusory trap. Thoughts are a theory of probability. Our thoughts can create a fairy tale so real that we start living in it, and we start looking at the world through illusionary eyes. It's like looking through different filters. However, at one point, the pain begins to increase, and we hold it there. Then great crises come that internally destroy us. Critical situations start to repeat themselves. Pain becomes normal. We face the same conflicts and difficulties all over again, and they are already breaking us apart. These are very important indicators. Indications that tell you that the pain has not been worked out. The repetitions of the same situations are trying to tell you to pay attention and revise your way of thinking. These fake filters through which you see the world need to be removed so that you can change your perceptions and beliefs and later the way you see the world and reflect it in communication with others. Thank goodness there's pain along the way. We're all scared of it. We're all running away from it. During therapy, everything goes well until we press on the great pain. But great pain is what hides true potential. Great pain hides great strength. As a child, I gave up being myself and started behaving the way others expected me to, and they built me up with their words. If they said I was bad, I was bad. If they said I was dumb, I was dumb. If they said, "You'll never deal with this, you will fail, you don't understand, you're good, but, you can do it, but," and many other things. When we see that we are loved only when we play by the rules, or when we think and want what others think and want, we start responding with pain. The pain starts to accumulate from childhood. When we grow up, we close our hearts. We fear love. We stop valuing our authenticity. We think, "I guess I am bad, distorted. I'm the one who's wrong. I need to be fixed. I'm the one who's causing trouble. I'm guilty." For example, there is this couple who are parents and they are miserable. They stay in a relationship in which they don't feel satisfied and hide a lot of things, but they still stay together. Why? Because the kids need two parents. Because it's better that way. Because there's no other way. That might cause children to think, "I'm the reason someone's unhappy. I'm the reason someone is sad or has no right to make another choice." We cannot imagine what is on the child's mind when he is witnessing such a visible or invisible situation. Because kids do see everything, even if we think they don't. Kids hear what we think they don't. Children feel this hidden emotional dialogue and pain. They take all of it and they swallow it, just like we did when we were children. We think that when we create this illusion in front of the child and we hide and lie, he or she won't understand, but the child does. Everything that happens in the family as we grow up, such as crises, difficulties, negative beliefs or patterns, when we deny ourselves, when we're being critical or overreacting, all this shows that these things happened and created a long chain of history. It's these aspects from childhood that are called basic, painful, negative beliefs, basic processes of denying my authenticity, the underlying foundations and limits of the personal lie. There it all starts, because the base is what from then on will determine our experiences, because it's the base that's created by our parents, grandparents, and the people closest to us. They send us the original messages. Here, I would advise you to do something. Your first task in your personal therapy. I hear people shortly after a breakup saying, "Oh, he or she must have forgotten me by now. It's the end. He or she's already forgotten me. I'm suffering. I'm feeling extremely bad." This again is an illusion. That's a lie. It's not true. There's no way he or she can forget you so quickly. There's still a story going on here. You may not talk to each other at this point. You may be experiencing a period of pain. You may still have unexpressed emotions, whether of sadness, anger, or broken trust. But you've not been forgotten by your partner. There is this model of, if I don't hear from someone, if I'm abandoned, if we've separated, then he or she forgot about me. Behind this limiting belief and personal lie stands something else. My basic understandings which I inherited in the past. What could those basics be? Since I believe that the man or woman I just split up with has already forgotten me, what could that mean? First of all, this breakup could only be for a while and is still not clarified. But if I believe that I'll be forgotten, or I already am, the belief here is that I wasn't seen by my parent, or I might have been forgotten by him or her, or she didn't have time for me, or he came home and said, "Oh, I've got a headache. I can't pay attention to you now." Or, "Talk now, but I only have 2 minutes. I can't talk now. It's time for dinner." This makes the child think that maybe he or she is forgotten and not seen because he or she's not valuable. At some point, this basic footprint leaves the message that I can easily be forgotten and that I can easily be erased. I could easily not be thought of, or I could easily be replaced with something or someone else, because there's always something that's more important. The energy was always flowing in some other direction. I've always struggled to be noticed by mom or dad. They always had to work. They always had arguments and problems, or they traveled very often. It seemed that someone was always worried about me not having a job or not being satisfied with the money I received or helping me. And I've always tried to get noticed. See how the basics overlap with the current events in our lives? The personal lie and the limiting filters. Another thing I hear from people is, I do not have the right to have personal free time. I don't have the right to do my favorite things because he or she is always stalking me, controlling me, constantly seeking some help with something. Where are you going? What are you doing? Show me where you were. Why were you there? For how long were you there? You said you'd be home in half an hour, and it's been 45 minutes. Non-stop ringing. Pick up now. I have no right. What is that? How do I explain it? This is a popular belief in relationships. However, it hides another message, which is, I have no right to be authentic, or I can't be myself or have my personal space, to be able to have my own friends, to say no sometimes, or to set a boundary. I have the belief that it is forbidden to me because I've had a parent who was more demanding and critical. When you finished doing something, you immediately had to start doing something else and then something else. You shouldn't be wasting your time. To become successful, you have to work hard. Don't you dare think that success is easy. How do you make money? Only if you work 48 hours a day. Only if you read a lot of things. How do you think I got here? Or when the mother keeps calling with questions like, "Where are you? Why haven't you come home? You should have called me. Why didn't you call me? You get distracted easily. Of course, you don't follow my rules. Do you want me to do the same now? Here's the threat." These are basic things, and I'm exaggerating them a little with my voice and words so that you can clearly see the similarity. In my work with people, I've noticed that people don't want to see the connection between things, the resemblance. I recently gave an example to a client of mine. I gave her a list of a few situations and asked her to tell me what the commonalities were. In one situation, she had a relationship with a man who was very controlling and constantly criticizing her. He didn't let her work because he thought she would come home tired. He wanted to see her always in a good mood, and she told him that it was important for her to learn and grow. He often frightened her, or was dissatisfied or critical, and such situations make us experience anxiety, fear, and this bad experience stays with us. Let's say she didn't feel satisfied and they split up. What can we see here? She might say, "I wasn't allowed to be myself. I felt pressure, oppression, control. Somehow I didn't feel accepted. I felt I was thrown away, like I wasn't important. I felt that my partner didn't listen to me and that the other person's needs are always more important than mine. I have to change and be calmer. I should be more like this or that in order to be more suitable to this man. I should become more understanding of his philosophy or his way of thinking when he tells me what I should do or who I am." How does that sound? We often say, "I have a problem with this man or woman, or my attitude towards this or that, or with these thoughts, or with these messages," except we don't see that there's a foundation behind all of this. The second situation is if the client meets someone new. They build a relationship. Her observation is that he is calmer, seems more tolerant than the last one. We see a difference. Everything is good, but at some point, he starts making me do more than expected. Work harder. Make this or that commitment. This meal is tasty, but too salty. Next time, it's not salty enough. After that, he wants you to do something in his stead. When she asks for help, it's communicated, "You can handle this yourself." Or I ask him for something and he answers, "Yes, we'll see. There's enough time. I'll probably do it." And I keep accumulating emotions. What is happening here? I'm starting to feel alone again. My voice is not heard. I'm being rejected. I cannot rely on anyone's help and cooperation. I once again don't feel meaningful. The same patterns can also be seen at work. The third situation I gave to my client involved a boss in whose team she started working, but at some point he started giving her more and more work, while her colleagues were hiding. She admits she started to accumulate anger and anxiety. Why is it always me? Why is it always like that? It's my destiny. Watch what happens now. Can it be someone else just for once? I'm always being held accountable. I'm always getting sanctioned. Always something happens and I don't get what I want. What's the similarity between all these situations? I asked this client and she was like, "The resemblance is that there's no resemblance." What do you mean there's no resemblance? Yes, These are all different people with different names, and externally they are different based on their experience. But if you pay close attention, the primary foundation is the same: rejection, demand, criticism, incoherence, feelings of rejection, and lack of appreciation. As we said, the people and situations may differ, but the root is the same. Even when we choose different people in our lives, the base of our beliefs is the same. Our attitude towards ourselves and life is what we have taken from childhood, things in which we once believed. By observing this story, we cannot help but see the hidden foundation that's behind the first man, the second man, and the boss at work. If someone had a father or mother who was too demanding and were always pointing out what else had to be done, and towards each other they were like, "You haven't done what I told you. When are you going to do it? How many times do I have to tell you the same thing?" Another example would be, "Why did you get a B grade on the exam at school? Why wasn't it an A?" When there's an A grade, the parent is still not satisfied and asks, "Why all the grades aren't A's?" The parent often gives such an impression and says, "Well done, but I'm only proud of you when you get A's. If you get anything else or fail at something," they say, "you're lazy. You will become nothing. How many times do I have to explain it to you? You're embarrassing our family. What will people say? Do you know who I am in this society? You have to protect the family's name." These stories I'm telling you so that you can feel it, so you can clearly see things and the results that follow, because our current problems, conflicts, frustrations, and pain reveal the lies and the truths in our belief system. Thoughts like, "She's forgotten me. He'll erase me. I'm not valuable. They'll cheat on me and hurt me. I'll never be chosen." By observing the current problem, we can find the original footprint. I try to explain to my clients that the main problem isn't their partner. Yes, it may seem right now it is, because it shakes them up. I'm not denying that, but in order for this to happen, underneath, there's another deeper foundation. If we don't see what that base is, we also can't change our current problem, our way of thinking, or our view of the world. Because the way I perceive the world, women, men, relationships, etc., is the way I learned to as a child. It's the way I was seen by my parents, the look in their eyes, their behavior, their words, their story are now mine, and I design them. Of course, all this happens unconsciously for me and my loved ones in my adult life. All of the current events in our relationships are just an external layer and not the core of our problem. If we are hurt by a current problem, if we feel anxiety, what is the belief system here? That I cannot be loved. I don't deserve words of love. I'm not appreciated. No one likes me. No compliments. I am loved, but without being able to hear it. It's like I'm accepted in another way. In individual or group therapy, we are looking at all these layers more deeply, because the basis of this could be that one of your parents loved you without expressing it, or without saying the words, "I love you. You're beautiful. You're lovely." It's possible that your father or mother wasn't able to say such words and was not used to giving compliments. Or your parents loved each other without saying, "I love you. You're special. I like you. You're precious to me. Thank you for taking care of me. How beautiful you are." If we haven't had such experiences, it doesn't mean they didn't love each other or us. They just loved each other without expressing it with words. They loved us without telling us those words. Love is power, and the way people express it depends on their archetype. It exists, but it has different faces. Love is when we fight. Love is when we are offended as well. Love is when we judge each other. Love is when we reject each other. Love is when we say nice words. It's love when we see each other's strengths. Love is when we're sorry for each other. Love is everything. But one type of love is more destructive, and the other is more constructive and brighter. So in order to not receive unpleasant words, think if you have this thought process, that love doesn't have to be expressed with words. If you want something to change, you will have to change your inner attitude. You will have to change your attitude towards yourself, and this applies to all of us. We need to stop being trapped in the trauma of childhood, to stop being absorbed by these unprocessed moments and habits of what we have seen. We can realize it, revise it, and choose for ourselves what to change in our lives from now on. If you didn't receive kind words and compliments, think about how you treat yourself. I found out during therapy with my clients that they have difficulty praising themselves. They have difficulty being proud of themselves. So, write down what you are proud of and what you appreciate in yourself. Take this as a personal assignment in self-respect, self-esteem, and recognition. It is very important that we observe ourselves, look at ourselves in a new way. So write down what you are proud of. What knowledge do I have? What do I value in myself? Which actions of mine am I grateful for and proud of? What am I special for? What is my role and place in this life? What can I be useful with? Everyone has a place and a mission. What qualities do I value in myself? What skills am I proud of? What did I put my effort into? What achievements of mine do I cherish? Write them first. See them clearly, and then say them out loud just to yourself, and speak with pride in your voice. Here I will ask you to remove the destructive, limiting beliefs that this is bragging, that this is selfishness. Yeah, of course, that's where it comes from. We declare it as some kind of embarrassment or problem or blockage. At the same time, it comes from somewhere pushed down inside of us. Do not brag in front of others. You will not look good. If you boast, someone will envy you, and they will ruin it. These are all limiting messages and patterns that can sabotage everything. We need to change them into something more useful. Write this down to create this connection with yourself. You should be important to yourself. It is you who needs to evaluate your efforts, your knowledge and skills. First, you have to connect to those qualities you have. Think about what you wrote. It is possible that somewhere deep inside, you do not understand your parents. Has your mother or father thought that they made a lot of compromises or efforts, but no one appreciated them? For example, if a man didn't praise his wife, wasn't grateful, and didn't give her what she needed. Or for example, your father did something and was waiting for your mother's reaction, but there was none. If they felt invisible to each other, unappreciated, or misunderstood. There are a lot of cases where it turns out that men are not appreciated by their wives. Women are getting more critical, and they blame men for not being able to think about two things at the same time, or for not being useful enough, or not knowing what to do. In this case, the man does some things, but he doesn't feel appreciated and seen, and he accepts this as an inner belief that he is not appreciated, which he then passes on to his children. Or we could have acquired this attitude from our parents. For example, if I made some effort trying to appeal to my mom or dad, showing them that I did something good, and I get a reaction such as, okay, thank you, or bravo, but this response does not get me closer to who I am. Then with time, we can start refusing to do these things because we think our efforts will never be appreciated. In order for someone to be like that, there's always a story behind that. Take a look at things as you write them down and try to see the connections. Try to see if there are any similarities to your family's stories. It will help us to see what we've taken from other people, what is our false self, personal lie, and what all that contains. Usually it's something we've taken from someone else. So do the work. The first assignment is to connect to your pride and confidence, to really thank yourself for everything that you've achieved. I've been through criticism myself, always rejecting how far I've come and what I've done. Somehow it was never enough for me. Yeah, it was nice, but somehow never enough. And that is my background, because in my life, someone never felt that they were enough. Someone in my family was never enough, and that was the way that love was expressed in my family. That was the way people connected in my family. It's been the choice of my parents to stay this way and to relate to each other in a certain pattern. This is a way to show what remains inside us. Because if someone hasn't been enough for me and I felt dissatisfied, then why didn't I do something to fill that gap myself? Why didn't I try to change my attitude so things could be different? Here quite often, we all get stuck in thinking that he has to change, she has to find a way, he has to do this, she has to do that. That way, we will remain forever in the trap of criticism, frustration, and maintaining a false purpose and a personal lie. We will maintain our personal pain and this destructive pattern. I hope you understand me correctly. We mustn't judge our parents. I don't mean to condemn yours or mine. I don't mean to criticize them, judge them, or label them saying, "You're guilty." That's not our goal here. They've all done their best with the possibilities they had at the time. I say that all the time. That was their story. That was their model. It was their own understanding of relationships. It was their trauma and their choice to stop evolving or changing. At that time, it wasn't so common to pay attention and work on our mental processes, on the emotions, on personal development. We now live in a new time where we have this great opportunity to change, grow, and heal internal pain. Let's just assume that was their experience. They did what they could. What happened with them was exactly what should have happened. No matter if it was painful or difficult, it was exactly what should have happened, and it was important. Thanks to this whole experience, we are who we are today. Let's accept their choices as they were, and from now on, we will choose for ourselves and will not repeat their patterns. To a large extent, our false self and our personal lie are a result of the fact that we take our parents' patterns, repeat them, repeat their beliefs, repeat their relationship, repeat their secrets, without even knowing it. Trying to end their pain, we reflect it. At some point, we really start to resemble them and create a life that resembles theirs. Some people even create exactly the same life. So we often don't really get to know our personalities, and we just repeat what we saw. Our mother, our father, grandmother, grandfather, following all the messages and guidelines we got. Because by refusing to be authentic, we are already starting to behave like those who told us to be a certain way. Those who made us believe we have to keep a certain image, to have certain thoughts, act in a certain way, or make the same choices. At some point, we surrender. We accept that's our path, because as children, we cannot face our parents with strength and power, and as adults, we do not take responsibility for ourselves and our lives. We should understand that we should have gratitude for those who brought us up, because even if they hurt us, it's pain that brings the potential to heal. And the more we deny something and struggle, the more we hold back deeper traumas and fault. Many people stop accepting their parents. I won't accept this parent. I have no contact with this guy. I don't want to remember him or her at all. I don't like my mother. I don't accept my father. They've done nothing but bad things to me, and I don't respect them. You should know that by doing that, you will not heal, but on the contrary, get even worse. Experiencing this still served a purpose. It caused us pain so that it can shake us. Someone once said, "Thanks be to God that there is pain, because when it comes, it changes us and provokes us to think about it." Remember, if you've gone through a difficult disease or a crisis, remember how quickly you took things into your own hands, how quickly you started taking better care of yourself, changed your eating habits, started to exercise, appreciated your loved ones, and thanked them for their help. You started giving yourself more space. You started chasing a dream of yours. Notice how quickly you've changed. Therefore, the stronger the crisis, the more threatening, the more it brings warnings such as, "You are between life and death." The quicker we wake up and begin to change, as though we were in a deep sleep and suddenly we awakened, and we are already in connection with authenticity. And then we begin to follow our inner voice without worrying or thinking so much about what others will think, how others will react. Life becomes most precious at this moment. When we don't have such threats, we're careless, and we kill ourselves every day with laziness, illusions, denial, procrastination, doubt, and judgment. That's why all the severe crises and symptoms come into our lives. The symptoms are either mental or physical. We'll have a mental and physical symptom, or we'll have some sort of situation. Recurrences of situations and events, crisis, wars, viruses. Their purpose is to wake us up and make us take our lives in hand. However, the symptoms are already so intense that people are now beginning to seek deeper knowledge. The release of this falsehood, criticism, and narcissism is already very needed, and that's why these processes are taking place. The next assignment is related to your relationship with the past, so that you can find the connection between things. As one young client said, "What connection? I don't see any connection." But there is a connection. We just need to use our conscious mind to compare our current experiences with our parents' basic principles. Thus, we can get closer and know where it's coming from. Let's say I have something rotten under my desk, and I just say, "I smell it. I'm feeling uncomfortable, but I don't clean it, and I keep complaining about the bad smell." I'll have to eventually dig into the hidden and see what's making that smell. That's exactly what pain does. I will have to look for a solution. I will have to make some other effort. Enough procrastinating. Let me see. I will remove the desk and reach to see what's under it. Pull it all out, or do something else to find where the problem is coming from. This is also true when working on our mental state and filters, limitations, and negative beliefs. The current problem can be solved by looking at what's underneath. The following task is to return to yourself and think about what false messages or beliefs your parents had. What were their personal theories by which they lived? How did they talk about themselves? How did they treat themselves? Did they like themselves or not? Did they approve of themselves, boast about themselves, believe in their worth, or doubt themselves? And how did they treat themselves? What names did they call themselves? How did they sound? What was their real self like? What messages did they send you? Here it's important to see the role that your parents required you to perform, the image they wanted you to have. If they were critical, or were praising you, or didn't express their love, were they demanding, Did they trust you? Did they make you fear them or anyone else? Think about how it was for you in your childhood. Think about the words and messages. When in therapy, some clients can't reach all the way back to those memories from the beginning. People often forget moments from their childhood. When we mature, we erase many memories from our childhood. This is a defense mechanism we enable in the past because we didn't have the strength to cope with those emotions back then, and the only way was to forget. But knowledge cannot disappear. It remains alive, and it manifests itself in our adult lives. The memories are in you. When you're thinking about the past, about your childhood, about the stages in childhood, try to play it backwards like an old movie. The movie about your life and your history. With time, certain words, messages, situations will start to come out, and you will remember things that have touched you, that have made you feel vulnerable. But as all children, you said, I'll forget. I forgive them. Children forget and forgive. Children want to forgive their parents. Children want to forgive the offensive words. And we are still the same. But still there remains a feeling of pain and of insult. Pain remains, even if the child tries to act mature and forgive, and even if he or she says it doesn't matter. However, there always remains some pain. Try to go back and see where these wounds have stayed with you. Remember what the dialogues, words, situations, and messages were, and you will see what your parents' false patterns and roles, their limiting beliefs, and their negative models were. Those patterns paved your way and have shaped the base of your beliefs. Then look at your partners. What does he say to you? For example, life is not easy. Stop playing around. Life is a struggle. Money is bad. It will spoil the children. Life has to be simple. We can't ask for much. See what patterns your partner believes in. It's important to actually listen when people talk. They talk precisely about their inner view of the world, their understandings and convictions. They also show what their wounds are, because the most painful topics are a part of a person's personal lie. It's part of their false self and the history of the family that he or she has chosen to believe in. So you can hear from your partner what he or she carries on his or her shoulders from childhood. This can also help you discover some of your own personal lies, because we don't meet people by chance. We meet based on compatibilities in our personal lie and the partners. That's why we're a good fit. Our limiting beliefs match. For example, if I think that I don't deserve good things and I am not valuable, of course I will have a partner who doesn't value me, doesn't respect me, who does not support me, and never says thank you. I will attract a partner who's not understanding. Even if he did something for me, it wouldn't be enough. That's because my inner belief and understanding is based on uncertainty and rejection. So write down how your parents treated themselves, their beliefs and attitudes, then how they related to each other. Then see how it is for you now, what it is like for your partner, and also in your relationship. You'll be surprised how many things you will find in common. Be honest. Write things down. It's very important to write it down. You'll be able to see things more abstractly. It becomes a process of dialogue with ourselves, with the images of our parents, and of partners that are in our current reality. The current reality is secondary, and it formed based on the original experiences and events with our parents. The next thing I want to give you as an assignment is to explore your personal attitude. Answer the following questions. What is the most negative thought or belief that I have about myself? Which thought hurts the most? What thought can make your narcissistic side bleed and your body shudder and feel bitterness? The heart of this could be gathered into one question. What is your most negative feeling, thought, belief that you have about yourself at this moment? Write it down. For example, my most negative belief at this moment is that I will not be able to achieve what I dream of, or something else in your personal life. The second question to answer is, what do I not want people to know about me? What do I want to hide? We all seek to hide our weaknesses. Jung talks about this shadow that we form inside ourselves. What I don't want people to know about me is what I feel I have failed at, what I am doubtful that I will achieve. I already had a lot of disappointments, and I doubt that I will achieve what I want. So I prefer to hide it from people because I am afraid that they will think that I am a failure. Question number 3 is, what is the reason my life isn't as successful as I wish? Let's say my reason is that I think I will not succeed at work. I want to hide that I failed because I don't feel that I'm loved, because I don't have a lot of money. Next, what is your most negative thought about your father? For example, he's very cold and he misunderstands and is incapable of listening. The next question is the most negative thing about my mother. What's your worst thought about her? Maybe she's passive and critical. What is your personal lie at this moment? What are your illusions? For example, I doubt that I'll make it. My other illusion is that I say I'm unlucky and I'm not respected or valued. I could create affirming thoughts, which could be the opposite. Contrary to this self-deluding, hurting feeling, I mean that if I think I've failed, or I'm not going to make it, or I'm not lucky, I think of the opposite. I will succeed. I can succeed. I am made for a purpose. Luck is turning my way. Change your mindset. Turn it into the opposite, the positive. We are all too often focused on the negative processes and situations, self-destruction, pain, anger, projecting anger on someone, pessimistic attitudes, etc. And it becomes a dynamic that could easily get very unhealthy and devour us from the inside out. The goal is for you to see your illusions yourself. The most negative thought I gave as an example a while ago was that I might have a fear of failing at work and in my personal life. Here I should ask myself, is this true about me? Is that really true? Have I not succeeded in anything? Have I failed at everything? Have I never succeeded at work? Did I ever have success during my education? And you will see how you alone will save yourself. If I have thoughts about not being able to succeed, this is an illusion. This is your false self that's screwing with your mind at this moment. And it activates the pain that has been held for a long time in your mind and aims to hit you in the face and tell you, it's not true. You've seen the light at the end of the tunnel. We all sometimes see it as an exception to the negative models and beliefs, and it will connect you to the frank, authentic truth for yourself. Well, I was successful once. I've had at least one relationship, or one period of a relationship where I've been successful. I've felt good. I've felt loved. I've felt in love. This is already conveying that the negative isn't the whole truth. So revise and change your energy and internal dialogue from negative to positive beliefs. That is self-transformation. What I don't want people to know about me is that I have failed. What if I said I failed at something? This fear comes from, you're going to embarrass yourself. You're a public figure, for example. People listen to you. Some see you as a teacher. How are you going to admit you failed? Some kind of dialogue is starting to build up. Someone could use that against you. They'll use your vulnerability to control you. This dialogue aims to sustain your negative attitude. Do we have any other moments where we failed? As children, as students? Well, of course we did. I might have failed in some game. I didn't participate in any competitive sports because I didn't meet the norms. Okay, so did these mistakes destroy me as a person? No. Here, I aim again to get out of that box full of illusions and personal lies. Yeah, I've failed. But look at how many things I've accomplished. Look how far I've come. I've created this. I've done that. I mean, after all, something else also happened along with the failures. So, about our current fear of failure, I want you to confess to someone about a failure of yours. This is shadow work right now. Confess to someone a failure that you're ashamed of. Like I did the other day. I put myself out there and talked to you about how I had had a difficult time when I realized that maybe I got greedier because I wanted to have more money. I took a risk under the influence of wanting to make more money and build a bigger psychology center, and I suddenly realized that I wasn't grateful for what I already had. I wasn't happy with the present. I didn't invest in another way. I didn't let myself work through it, but instead what I had was never enough. I, of course, had dressed up this greedy feeling in a beautiful idea for a bigger center, for more opportunities. After all, what was that? Greed. I wanted to have more, but why did I need so much? Of course, I learned my lesson. I lost absolutely everything I had worked for many years. And once I was left with nothing, I thought, well, I lost all of my money, but I'm not going to die. Can't I be valuable with my knowledge? Won't I be able to create something bigger, like a book or a useful message to people? After all, I'm not losing all this. I didn't lose my real self. I've lost something that I was just greedy about, and I wanted more and more without appreciating what I already had. Or I didn't realize that I had enough. As I gave an example earlier, for some people it will never be enough. And so, we all go through our lessons. So please, recognize your shadow. Look at this hidden characteristic. Find someone to confess it to, as I confess to you. This is a very important process. Authenticity. You will connect to it. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make a person bad. That makes him or her authentic. We all have strengths and weaknesses. That's what you don't want anyone to discover. See what it is for you and talk it through with someone who is important to you. Call a friend. Confess to him. Admit something that you didn't want to. As in the example, you're afraid of failure. I think I can fail, or I think I was greedy back then, as I confess to you. I had to analyze this so that the lesson would come to me. Work it out, or call a teacher of yours, or someone who's a mentor to you. Admit it to her. Allow yourself, and see that no one will die. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of your shadow and ego. You will take a deep breath, and you will be relieved. You're going to say, I did it. I admitted it. I don't need to hide anymore. Despite the bad thing that happened, I'm still myself. It will help you so much. Try and see. So on each of these questions, ask yourself if it is really that way. When you get to the mother and father exercise, see which of their patterns do you repeat. Do I repeat that? For example, the negative belief that my father is very distant and doesn't want to communicate with me. How do you project that same thing onto someone else? Does it sound familiar? When you realize that you said the same thing about your ex-boyfriend, your ex-wife, your boss, she's distant and uncommunicative. He only annoys me. Or you may be saying that to yourself. Look for these repeating events and thoughts. Then create your new potential self. Connect yourself to your new resource. Become a parent to yourself, a parent that will take care of you. Choose what messages you want to put into your mind and believe. That's when you need to switch negative beliefs to positive ones. Take the thought, I'm unlucky, I'm not going to make it, and I'm unloved, and replace it with, luck comes into my life, and it was here before. I can and I will succeed. I'm already successful because there were at least 2 lucky moments in my life, and I choose to love. Then write yourself a story about your new self. What would my life look like if these negative thoughts, beliefs, pain, and false self were gone? What if they disappeared? They're gone. I'm changed. What will your life look like then? Write this story because you are the one who can rewrite your story. You're the one who chooses from now on. You're the one who's going to direct the movie of your life. Know that every analysis gives us new knowledge. When we read a book twice, we always find something we've missed the first time around. We always hear or realize something new. We all have defense mechanisms. We have a conscious, controlling self. We endure external social pressure. We experience stress and anxiety, which will not allow you immediately to hear everything and understand it. You will not immediately be able to easily make all the connections at a conscious or subconscious level and immediately see all your illusions, lies, processes, parental voices, etc. It's only going to happen when we work and repeat it for a long period of time. I try my best and I strive for my words to be real because I'm teaching you to be real. I reveal to you my fears and my pain, my lessons, and my illusions and lies because I believe that authenticity and revelation are our greatest teacher. We need something from the outside, someone to nudge us, to be for us a mirror, to provoke us to think about something else, and so to go through the process. Thank you for being together in this time. Please listen and follow through and do your therapy assignments. Live in light and love. Bye from me, and see you soon.